Hello, welcome to Hattie Knits Along. My name is Allison, but my friends call me Hattie. I'm a knitter living in the Pacific Northwest. On this channel, I like to talk about all things knitting, what I'm working on, what you're working on, and what we are currently nerding out about. Now, as it's coming to the end of October, it's time to start thinking about gift knitting. I'm usually a selfish knitter, because I know I will like and wear what I make. But around this time of year, I start to get an itch to put my knitting skills to use and make beautiful, handmade, unique gifts for my friends and family. Hats make great gift knitting because they are really quick to knit, don't use too much yarn, and are usually pretty forgiving in size. On today's episode, I'll go over 4 hat patterns that I have knit before and would again, and 4 that I'd like to knit in the future. All of these patterns I think would make awesome gifts. And I'll also be filling you in on my whips, talking about a couple of finished objects, and of course, talking about what we're all working on in our Knit Along community. I hope you'll stick around. First hat pattern I want to talk about is the classic ribbed hat by Purl Soho. This is a free pattern from Purl Soho's website, and I think you can even download it right off of Ravelry. And it is a basic ribbed beanie. It's a bottom-up construction. Start with the widest part, and you knit 1 by 1 rib all the way up, and then you decrease for the crown. It calls for a DK weight yarn. In fact, it was written for the Purl Soho's Cashmere Merino Bloom yarn, which is 75% extra fine merino and 25% cashmere. It's a really beautiful yarn, but you don't have to use that yarn to make this hat. You can use any DK weight yarn. It's a very forgiving, easy pattern. I think especially because it's ribbing all the way through, it is super forgiving in its sizing. You can always roll up the brim extra if you need it smaller, or have it no brim at all if you need it bigger. It comes in 5 sizes from baby to adult large. And also in the pattern they offer different ways to mix it up. So you could do thin stripes, thick stripes, you can do some color blocking, you can do it all solid, but you can be creative with it and mix it up the way you want to as well. I have knit this hat 4 times, one for each member of my family. So my daughter and I have matching hats. This one's mine. Let's see. It doesn't really go with my purple sweater here. This is Purl Soho's Cashmere Merino Bloom in the color Red Poppy. Which is just a really pretty color for a watchman's cap like this. So here's my daughter's and I's. Hers is an adult small, I believe, and mine is an adult medium. My daughter has a really big head, and I tend to not have a big head, but both of these fit us well. And then my son and my husband have matching hats. So for these I use the color Fresh Pickle and High Tide. So it's pretty blue and green colors. And I'll probably pop up a picture of my husband and my son last year wearing their matching hats. So this is my son's. So I knit the child size for him last year. And in fact, he can't really wear it with a brim anymore. He also has a big head. So he wears it like this, and it looks really cute. Big heads come from my husband's side. So this is the adult large, and I was really worried about it fitting, but because of that really stretchy ribbed fabric, it fits him great. I believe that is the first and only thing I have ever knit my husband. So maybe I should do that a little more. The next hat is the Shift Along by Andrea Mowry of Drea Renee Knits. This pattern is $7 on Ravelry, and it's a mosaic pattern that is in the same family as the Shift cowl and the night shift cowl, and I think there's a shift again cardigan. I think there's a shawl. There's a whole bunch of different shift patterns by Andrea Mowry, and they're all mosaic knit, and they all have this same pattern of the big blobs and the little blobs as you go around. So this is the one I made for my daughter. I knit hers in an adult small because, like I said, big head. She's only 8 and I knit this last year. The pattern calls for a sport weight yarn, and she uses dyed in the wool, which is a spin cycle color shifting yarn, and that's how she gets the cool effect in the mosaic knitting. But honestly, you could use any sport weight or even DK weight yarn and get the same effect, you know, having two contrasting colors. I don't think you need to have the color shifting that Spin Cycle offers. This one, I did use Spin Cycle dyed in the wool for the contrast color. I used the color Cassiopeia, which is the shop exclusive colorway from Starlight Knitting Society in Portland, Oregon. And then for the main color, I used Cashmere People yarn in Kashgora, which is like Cashmere Angora, I think, which is a sport weight yarn, and it's the color Ceres. Now I picked up that yarn at Port Fiber in Portland, Portland, Maine. So this is a Portland to Portland hat, which I actually just realized right now that was the case. I didn't realize that they were both yarns from Portland, but this is a fun, easy, very fast knit. So I'd recommend that one. Oh, and even though it's a sport weight fabric, it's quite squishy because it is mosaic knitting, and you could see the inside, all the different yarns being carried around. It gives it a very squishy fabric. The next hat is the Bis Bis by Sari Nordland, and I have no clue if I am saying that right, but it is a beret pattern. It's about €4. I don't know how much that is in US dollars, but it's a paid for pattern. There's two size options, a fingering weight or a sport weight. You choose from two different yarn weight options. The fingering weight option will give you a smaller, more tightly fitting beret, whereas the sport weight option will give you more roomy and drapey fit. The Bis Bis beret is worked from top towards the bottom. The beret is started with an I cord for the stem. So you can see my little I cord here. And then joined in the round and increased to the maximum width. Then the hat is decreased to fit and ended with an I cord bind off, which is really nice bind off here. You can work it on magic loop or DPNs. And I made this in the fingering weight gauge because I made it for my daughter, and I did use a fingering weight and a lace weight held together, but I guess I'm just a tight knitter, so it turned to the fingering weight gauge. It's a fingering weight sock yarn with the merino nylon mix and a mohair blend, so it gives it a really nice halo, which you can kind of see here. I think a beret is just a really classic look. My daughter, I knit this for her last year, and she's a Girl Scout, so she was a Daisy Girl Scout, and she loved to wear this beret to meetings with her blue Daisy vest, and it was very cute. But I think it could also be a great look for an adult. Berets fit everybody, and they just make your style look a little classier, so a great choice for a gift knit. The final hat that I have is the Musselburgh hat by Ysolda Teague, and I talked about this a little bit last week. You've probably heard of this pattern before because there are about 27,000 projects for it on Ravelry, which is insane. It costs £6 British, which don't ask me to figure out what that is in dollars, but it is a paid for pattern. But you can use this pattern over and over and over and over again, and you could get very different results from it. This is the original swatchless hat pattern, a double layered beanie with 4-point crown shaping. The multi-gauge pattern now includes 9 gauges for yarn weights between light fingering and DK and 6 different sizes. So basically you pick the yarn you want to work with and the needles you want to work with, and you start knitting and you measure your gauge, and then based off of your gauge and the size that you want to make, you knit to a certain point, and then with your increasing, so you start with a circular cast on and then you increase, and then you just keep on knitting and knitting, stockinette in the round until you have your desired length, and then you decrease and you pull it through, and then you just kind of turn it inside out or inside of itself. So now it's double layer, and then you can just fold up your brim, and there you go. This hat it's great for that single skein of yarn that, you know, is sitting lonely on your shelf. You love the way it looks, but you're just not sure what you want to make out of it. This is a perfect, because it could be light fingering to DK weight and you can make it work. Also, this pattern looks great with variegated yarns like this one is, or tonals, more solid colors. You could do 2 colors. You could knit halfway and then switch, and it could be a reversible hat because it's double layered. You can make it so that just the brim is a different color. The options are literally endless. I knit mine in the Wandering Flocks Baby Paca in the color Moonstone, which is a sport weight yarn, and it's 50% merino, 30% alpaca, and 20% nylon. It's just really soft and a fun hat to knit. And, you know, especially stockinette in the round, it's, you know, you do have to pay a little bit of attention when you're increasing and decreasing, which it's not hard, but you just have to pay a little bit of attention. And then stockinette in the round for ages. Like, this is great car knitting if you are going on a long road trip or a long flight. You can take this knitting along with you, and you don't have to think much about it at all. So I highly recommend this for, I mean, it has the classic beanie look to it as well. So I don't think anyone would be mad at you if you gave them this beanie. Now I'm going to talk about 4 hat patterns that I would like to make that I think would make great gift knits in the future. I have not made these hats, so I'll be putting up pictures of them on the side here. But the first one is the Harlow hat by Andrea Mowry of Dre Renee Knits. This hat pattern costs $7 on Ravelry, and it says that it is the perfect jumping off point for beginner brioche knitters to try their newly acquired skills. This hat is great for any gender or age, and the color possibilities are infinite. We all need a dependable hat pattern, right? This is the pattern I know I can depend on for stash busting, wardrobe enhancing, or a quick gift knit for someone I love. So this is a brioche knitted hat, and I think it would be an amazing practice for brioche knitting. It's in the round and it's 2 color, so I think first of all it just looks really awesome with the way brioche turns out, especially in 2 color brioche. It just looks really neat, and anybody would be really excited to have that in a hat. Also, it's just great practice for new brioche knitters. The pattern comes in 3 different sizes, and it's designed in fingering weight yarn, but there's also a Harlow worsted, so if you would like a really thick hat, you could do a worsted pattern. I mean, I know fingering weight is pretty light for a hat, but brioche, I think it would be extremely squishy, so I think it would be great in fingering weight, and I imagine worsted weight would be ultra warm. I don't think you would need more than 1 skein of each color, and you need 2 different colors. It's a great stash buster also because you can find some yarn that you've been saving that you don't know what to work with or don't know what to use it for. I think this pattern would be just a really fun, quick way to try new knitting skills, to make something fun and unique for your family or friends. The second pattern is Barley DK by Tin Can Knits. This is a free pattern from Tin Can Knits. You could download it right off of Ravelry, but Tin Can Knits also has an app. And I have not used their app yet, but I have heard great things about it. It is full of video tutorials, and I know that the Barley DK hat is part of their simple collection, and they have video tutorials walking you through the entire process of knitting this hat. So if this is the first hat you've ever made, this is a great place to start. It has some ribbing around the brim, and then it has a combination of garter stitch and stockinette stitch. So you get to try out your purls and your knits in the round. There are 7 different sizes for this pattern, from newborn all the way to adult large. So anybody in your family can have one of these hats. You can make all matching hats for your family members. I think that would be really adorable. It's designed for DK weight yarn, but I bet you could get away with a heavy fingering or a light worsted. Tin Can Knits, you can't go wrong. Their patterns are always so easy to read and understand, and then with all the video tutorials that they offer through their app, it'll be a great way to start learning how to do hat knitting. I also know on their app, you can, when you have the patterns, you can make it show just the size that you are knitting. So instead of seeing parentheses all the stitch counts for the 7 different sizes that are in this hat, you could just see the numbers stitches for the hat size that you're making in that moment, and that can be really helpful, especially when you're a beginner knitter and you're getting lost in the pattern. So I definitely recommend this pattern, and I haven't tried it out myself, but I think that it would be a great place to start if you are a new hat knitter. Hat pattern is Wild Iris by Brianna Arlene, and this is a brand new pattern that just came out this month in October. And I think that this is a great gift knit because for somebody who has knit a lot of hats, this hat mixes it up a little bit and gives you some things to try that maybe you haven't tried before. So this is a mixture of brioche and ribbing, and the Wild Iris hat is a beanie style hat with a generous single folded brim. It is worked bottom up, beginning with the brim, which is knit in brioche, and then the body of the hat is worked in 1x1 ribbing. This hat is intended to be worn with extra fabric at the crown for a slightly slouchy modern fit. It's a DK weight gauge, which is achieved by either holding 2 strands of fingering weight together or 1 strand of DK or sport weight yarn. And it calls for a 2-color tubular cast on, which not tried before. Tried a tubular cast on, so I kind of understand where the 2-color might come in, but I mean, this is part of the brioche knitting, and so that is what's going to make it a little more fun and exciting and a little different for the seasoned knitter who's wanting to make hats for people. Costs $6.50 on Ravelry, and it's designed using some Farmer's Daughter fiber yarn and spin cycle dyed in the wool, but of course you can use any DK weight or fingering weight yarn that you would like to use. The 2-color brim is really unique. I like that the top crown part in the 1x1 ribbing is all solid color, and just the brim is the brioche with 2 colors. It gives it a unique look that's hard to replicate in ready-to-wear fashion. So a fun new pattern that you might want to check out. Finally, the last pattern I'd like to try to knit is the Grow Hat by Fiber Tales. This hat is 45 Dutch kroners, which is about $6.80. The Grow Hat will keep your head nice and toasty on cold winter days, especially when knit in a plump woolen spun yarn. So woolen spun yarn is a really light and airy yarn. It's full of air, so it will actually keep your head warmer. Inside of the yarn that's trapped there will hold the heat as like a insulation, and so like super lightweight, so it won't be a thick, heavy hat on your head. It's a quick and fun knit using about 1 skein of DK weight yarn. The hat is worked bottom up with a nice ribbed brim and a beautiful plant motif. The top of the hat is shaped by elegant centered double decreases. I do believe that the plant motif is achieved by knitting cables, so this is a great cable hat pattern to try out, and it has written instructions and a chart, so if you are somebody who likes to read your instructions, you can use this pattern, or if you like to have it all charted out, you can use this pattern as well. And I think it's just a pretty classic look to it that anybody would like. So great for a gift knit, and it's fun for the knitter to make because of the cables and challenging yourself a little bit in knitting something different. I like this one. That's all the hat patterns I have for you this time, and I think I might do a couple more knit ideas in the future. If you like to make gifts by hand, let me know. What patterns do you like to use? Do you like to knit hats for people? Do you like to knit other things for people? I'd love to know down in the comments below. You a little bit about what I'm wearing today. Today I am wearing my Felix pullover. The Felix pullover is a pattern by Amy Christoffers of Savory Knitting, which you have heard me talk about before because she is also the designer of Pressed Flowers. The Felix pullover is a raglan shaped pullover, so it has increases down the sides here, and one thing that makes it unique is these eyelets around the raglan increases, so that gives it just a really nice look to it. It's knit in a worsted to Aran weight gauge, so it is knit pretty quickly. I used Green Mountain Spinnery's Mountain Mohair in the color Alpenglow, and Green Mountain Spinnery is this wonderful yarn maker yarn shop in Putney, Vermont. They have a big mill there, and you can buy all their yarns in that shop, but you can also order them online. And Mountain Mohair is a mixture of Targhee wool and mohair and generic wool. Very heavy worsted weight, almost at Aran weight. But because of that, it knits up really fast. I started this, I knit this exactly 1 year ago. I started this on October 11th, 2023, and I finished it on October 30th. So I knit this pretty quickly. This wool is, I would say, kind of a rustic feeling. It has a really nice halo. It does pill a little bit. I don't know if you could see, but not too bad. I don't mind the rustic feeling wools, but I could see this being a little itchy to other people. But I think the Felix pullover can be knit in so many different yarns. It's just a really classic look to it. And I knit mine in the size 3, and I think that's a good fit for me. Now it's time to talk about my finished objects for the week. I finally finished my October socks. If you have been following along, I am part of Farmer's Daughter Fibers Sock Squad, and I get yarn from them every month. I get a full skein and a mini skein most months. And this month I got these beautiful blue and brown colors. Let's see if I still have quite a bit left. So I got these colors, and it's called The Borrowers, based off of a Jessica Rue illustration. And I decided to knit the Broken Rope Socks by Summer Lee Designs. So here are my finished socks. The Broken Rope Socks are a broken rib. It's a broken rib all the way down the leg, and then you do a heel flap and gusset, and the bottom part of the foot is just in stockinette, and the top part is in the broken rib, and then I did a wedge toe, and it makes for a really squishy, fun fabric. I did stripes with the mini skein. It's very easy. I highly recommend this pattern. when you buy this pattern, it comes with several other patterns. I think it's called the Hello Sailor Sock set. So several different sock patterns in this set that you can buy together. And I think, I'll definitely make more ribbed socks in the future because they are so forgiving in size. And we'll see. I should be getting my next colorway from Sock Squad tomorrow in the mail. So we'll figure out what I'm going to knit next with that one. My second finished object you don't know anything about unless you're on Instagram. My Instagram account is Hattie Knits Along, same as this YouTube channel. But I purchased some yarn off of Hobby Yarn. And they were having a Halloween sale, and I was like, what the heck, I'll add a ball of Halloween sock yarn. I didn't think I would be able to knit the Halloween socks in time for Halloween, but I got the yarn on Thursday evening. Here's what the ball looks like. It's called Halloween Sock Wool by Hobby, and it is 75% wool and 25% polyamide, 100 gram skein. It's a self-striping yarn. It's really cute. So I got it Thursday, and I was like, well, I'm going to challenge myself to knit my daughter some Halloween socks. And I got them done in 2 days, guys. I finished these last night, Saturday night. This is a basic vanilla sock with 56 stitches on size 1 DPNs. My other broken ropes are also size 1 DPNs, and 64 stitches is what I normally knit for myself. So yeah, my daughter's 8. She wears a size 13 or size 1 shoe. So I did 56 stitches, and the yarn is self-striping, so it was really fun. I did like about a 1-inch cuff of 1x1 ribbing, and then I just did straight stockinette for about 4 inches for the leg, and then I did a fish lips kiss heel, and it just so happens that it lined up with the black yarn. But let's see. So I don't know how well you're going to be able to see. But basically, the fish lips kiss heel is a type of short row heel that uses what they call twin stitches. And this was my first time doing a fish lips kiss heel. But my daughter really likes the feeling of an afterthought heel, which I've done before for her. And I didn't want to do an afterthought heel because I really hate picking up stitches. So I tried out this pattern, which I had the directions for a while, but I just hadn't tried it out yet. And it worked great. And if she loves the way it feels on her foot, it just kind of, her heel sits right into it and it doesn't go anywhere. She doesn't want her socks slipping and sliding away. And then I ended with a wedge toe, and it was really fun. I got the stripes to match up almost perfectly, which is, I think knitting with self-striping yarn is so addicting because you can just say like, I'm just gonna keep going until I get to the next color and then take a break. And because of that, I got these done in 2 days, and they're already blocked and ready for her to wear on Halloween. So I'm really happy that I was able to squeeze those out. So this ball of yarn costs $6.20, which is very inexpensive for wool yarn. And I think it was on sale because of it being a Halloween sock and it being almost Halloween. It does ship from Denmark, but the shipping was free, so that wasn't bad either. And it's not like the nicest wool ever. It's not like your fancy, next to skin softness, but for like novelty Halloween socks that she's probably only going to wear a few times. And for, kid socks, I think it's totally fine and not going to be so itchy on her. She's not that sensitive. I probably would buy that yarn again in another color and make more socks. I mean, I probably have enough. I didn't weigh this, but I probably have enough to make a whole nother pair of socks for her or her friend. So, yeah, it was a really good deal. I mean, I don't know if I could buy wool socks for $6 that are ready made. So, yeah, very good deal. So those are my finished objects, and along with the sock yarn that I purchased, I also purchased some other yarn for a future project. So I'll talk a little bit about my acquisitions. So the reason why I was on the hobby website was because I wanted to pick up some garland yarn. And garland yarn is this new yarn by Hobby and Pom Pom, which you might remember Pom Pom magazine, but they have gone out of print now. But this garland yarn is a new yarn that is a collaboration between Pom Pom and Hobby. And it is 70% cotton and 30% alpaca. And you could really tell in this colorway. It has this white cotton core that is the main yarn, and then it's got some dyed alpaca fluff spun around the cotton core. So it gives it this really cool marled look without actually being a marled yarn. Now, Hobby is really cost-friendly yarn, so each ball of this cost $9, and it is 50 grams and 105 meters or 114 yards. So, pretty good deal for $18 for these 2 balls, and free shipping from Denmark. So I got the color Chipmunk and Cosmos, and I am going to use this to make a pressed flowers kerchief, which is another Amy Christoffers pattern from Savory Knitting, and it's actually a free pattern, and it was designed using this yarn. So I'm going to try out that pattern. I think if it goes well, that could be a really great gift knit also, because it's a kerchief. It's like a small triangle, and it uses the pressed flowers mosaic knitting pattern in this very small triangle pattern. So it could be really quick and a nice gift for somebody in the future. If I like this pattern, I might buy more of this wool, make some people some pressed flowers kerchiefs. Well, so since I finished those 2 pairs of socks, I only have one work in progress right now, and that is my poly cardigan, which you have all been along for the ride on. But I am making some awesome progress on it. So I have finished both of the sleeves, which I showed. I think I wasn't quite done with the second sleeve last week, but I've got 2 sleeves. And I have started the body. So, whoa, you can't see the whole thing. So this is a cardigan pattern that is knit from the bottom up, and it's knit flat because it's a cardigan, but the sleeves were knit in the round. So this is my first time knitting this mosaic pattern in flat when I had done the sleeves in the round. It calls for a tubular cast on, and I think that turned out really nice. It is over 200 stitches for the size 3 that I am making, so it took a little while to do the tubular cast on. And then it is like several inches of ribbing, 1x1 ribbing on size 4 needles. That also took a while. And of course it took extra long because I took this project to knit night on Tuesday, and I was, I don't know, distracted, and I set the project down, picked it back up, and apparently started knitting the wrong way. So I had this chunk that was like thicker than the edges, and I had to basically rip out everything that I did during knit night and start over again. But now it's all even and the same number of rows on every side, and I've gotten almost halfway through the chart for the quilt star pattern. And then once you get through that quilt star, you'll knit the plain stitch for quite a while, and you'll be shaping the front panels and knitting the back. And then I believe you'll seam the shoulders together and attach the sleeves. So it's kind of nice that I already did the sleeves. Once I finish the rest of the body of the cardigan, all I have to do is attach the sleeves and I will be done. So we'll see how far I can get on this. I think mosaic knitting takes some time because you're basically knitting each row twice, but the fabric is really beautiful. It is quite thick. This is worsted weight yarn. It's Spinster's Daughter in the color York, and Spin Cycle's Dream State in the color Shades of Earth. I am doing a little bit of color managing in my Spin Cycle yarn, which I normally wouldn't do. Usually I don't care how it turns out in terms of which colors come next, but because this is so dark and I want to see the quilt star patterns, like you could see the next colors coming up on my Spin Cycle are almost the same color as the main color, and that's just not going to show up very well. So before I get to that, I'm going to switch to this skein, because then I will get a lot more of those reds and browns that I think will contrast really nice with the green. And at least through the quilt star, I will be managing those colors to make sure you could see the star pattern. And then once I get past that, I don't mind as much if there's less contrast. But I think, yeah, getting through that part will be good. And yeah, I think it's going really well. It's a fun pattern. It's kind of repetitive. Now that I already did the quilt star pattern twice, once on each sleeve. And on this, you're doing it 3 times. So you're doing it on the front panel, on the back, and on the other front panel. So I kind of am figuring out what comes next. I don't have to be staring at the pattern the whole time while I'm knitting this. So that makes it easy to like watch TV or do this at the end of the day when I'm tired. And it is quite addicting. I want to get to the next row, I definitely don't like leaving it in the middle of a row. So I have been working hard on that. And I did so much knitting this week. I feel pretty proud of that because, well, part of it was my oldest didn't have school for half the week because it was parent-teacher conferences, and we decided this would be a great time to potty train my toddler. So we spent a lot of time in the basement hanging out, trying to get him to go potty while I sat on the couch and knit. I couldn't really go anywhere because he wasn't wearing a diaper. So I spent a lot of time at home knitting, and that's part of why I was able to crank out those Halloween socks, still do lots of knitting on my cardigan, and finish my October Sock Squad socks. So Next weekend is Sacred Sheep. I hope that I get to see you there if you are in the Portland area. And I hope to do a little vlog for you there. And I'll, of course, share with you my acquisitions of what I purchased at Sacred Sheep. So please look forward to that. And if you are looking to watch that, make sure you're subscribed and that you hit the bell notification icon so that you get notified whenever I upload new content. And yeah, leave a comment if you are going to Sacred Sheep and let me know what you are planning to look for while you're there. Now it's time to find out what you all are working on in our Knit Along community. If you want to be part of this Knit Along community, all you have to do is comment down below what you are currently working on. I am going to go through each episode and talk about what everybody's working on. I like to highlight these different patterns because I think it's an opportunity to give us inspiration for new patterns instead of just seeing the same old things on what's hot right now on Ravelry. This is actually what our community is making right now. So I really appreciate everybody who has left a comment in the past few weeks and let me know what they're working on. I'm excited to follow along on your making journeys, so please continue to keep me in the loop and I will continue to highlight these patterns from week to week. So first we have Lorraine Humphrey, who says that she's working on a pair of fingerless mitts. They are using the Fantastic Fingerless Mittens by Stash Lounge, which is a free pattern on Ravelry. And she's using the Lang Alpaca Socks yarn. That sounds lovely. Another Lorraine Walker, is knitting the Arctic Light Sweater by Veronica Lindberg and a Felix cardigan. So a Felix cardigan is the same Felix raglan shaping but in a cardigan pattern, so it's knit flat instead of in the round, and it's also by Amy Christoffers. And she's also knitting Maurice Cowl by Twinset and Pearl and several pairs of socks for Christmas gifts. Socks are also a great gift knit because of how quick and easy they are. Erin is working on the Book Club cardigan by Sari Nordlund, which I have seen all over the place. It looks awesome. It is a cabled knit sweater. It's an all-over cabled knit sweater with drop shoulders. It's a cardigan. It's knit seamlessly top down, and it's knit using one strand of sport weight and one strand of lace weight mohair. It looks really beautiful. I mean, Sari Nordlund is awesome at cables, so definitely been seeing that pattern everywhere. Where am I? And Erin is also knitting The Shift by Andrea Mowry, which I mentioned earlier is the same mosaic pattern as the Shift Along hat, and a couple of pairs of vanilla socks. Thank you everybody who shared what you're making last week, and please continue to share. I really enjoy reading through those every week. So thanks again to everybody who has subscribed to my channel so far and who has liked my videos. I really appreciate every single one of you. I enjoy making these and I hope to continue to do that. If you have any questions, you can contact me at hattyknitsalong@gmail.com. You can find me on Instagram at hattyknitsalong. You can find me on Ravelry at hattyknitsalong. You can find me here on YouTube, and I even have a little bit of a TikTok channel, but I am definitely no expert on TikTok. Also at Hattie Knits Along. So please come and find me on social media. I hope that we can continue to build this community. Happy knitting.